He married her as an actress, just to please his mother. But what happens when fake love turns real, and a secret threatens to destroy everything? Grab your popcorn and enjoy this love story. Jennifer Okoye was born in Enugu, Nigeria, the first child of 3 siblings. Her father was a struggling civil servant, and her mother sold fabrics in the local market. Life was simple but tight, and when her father passed away unexpectedly, the family's financial struggles worsened. From a young age, Jennifer had a natural charm and presence. She loved performing in her church drama group and often dreamed of being on a big stage. But dreams took a back seat when her younger brother fell seriously ill, and medical bills swallowed the family savings. At 21, desperate to help her family, Jennifer took up modeling gigs in Lagos. It was during one of these events that she met a Nigerian Korean film director shooting a small project in Nigeria. Impressed by her talent, he encouraged her to try her luck in Seoul. With a small loan from her aunt and the little she had saved, Jennifer flew to Korea with nothing but a suitcase, her mother's prayers, and a promise to send money home. But reality in Seoul was far from glamorous. She struggled with language barriers and discrimination, bouncing between part-time jobs, waitress, translator for Nigerian traders, and even handing out flyers on the streets. Her break came when she was introduced to an underground role-playing agency, where clients hired women to act as their girlfriends or wives for social appearances. It wasn't her dream, but it paid well, and she was good at it, too good. Her ability to adapt, charm, and play convincing roles made her one of the most requested actresses in the business. What Jennifer didn't know was that her next client would be Ji-won Kong, and that this job would change her life forever. The black luxury car glided through the streets of Seoul, its engine a low hum. Ji-won Kong sat in the back seat, one hand resting on his knee, the other scrolling through his phone without much focus. His sharp features were illuminated by passing streetlights, every line of his face carved in cold precision. His phone buzzed. Mother. He let it ring twice before answering. Yes, Mother. Ji-won-ah. Her voice was warm but firm. I've arranged dinner tomorrow with the daughter of Chairman Park. She's beautiful, educated, perfect for you. A muscle in his jaw tightened. I'm not interested. You're 32, Madam Kong reminded him. This is not about interest. It's about responsibility. Make sure to be there by 7. The call ended before he could reply. Ji-won let out a slow, controlled exhale. He hated these blind dates, rehearsed smiles, empty conversations, women who saw his bank account before they saw him. The car slowed at a red light. That's when he noticed her, a Nigerian woman in a chic cocktail dress, stepping out of a lounge across the street, her laughter fading as she adjusted her coat. She just finished a girlfriend job at a luxury bar. She stepped into the chilly Seoul night. The city lights shimmered like jewels on wet pavement. She didn't glance at him, didn't even seem to notice the black car. She walked with the confidence of someone who didn't need to be impressed. Stop the car, Ji-won ordered. Moments later, the tinted window rolled down. She glanced at him, puzzled but didn't flinch. I saw your performance tonight, he said evenly. You're an actress, but not the usual kind. Her brow arched. Do I know you? No, Ji-won replied. But you're going to know me. Be my wife. For 1 year. Jennifer tilted her head, narrowing her eyes at the stranger in the sleek car. Be your wife. For a year, she repeated, half amused, half skeptical. Without another word, Ji-won reached into his jacket and pulled out a sleek black card. He slid it toward her. For a start, no limits. Use it as you see fit. Jennifer's eyes widened slightly. She had seen wealthy men flash money before, but there was something different about him. No arrogance, no attempt to charm. Just pure business. She hesitated for a moment, then took the card, feeling the weight of it in her hand. You're serious? Before he could respond, a car door opened, and the elegant Korean woman leaned in, her perfume sweet but sharp. She was every inch the type Madame Kong approved of: flawless skin, diamond earrings, a polished smile that hid judgment. Jennifer caught the subtle flicker in Ji-won's eyes. He leaned toward her, his voice low. "That's the woman my mother wanted me to meet tonight." Jennifer started to speak, but Ji-won's lips curved into a subtle, knowing smirk. "Time to start earning your pay." He winked. A second later, Jennifer slipped into character, her posture softening, her eyes lighting up as she slid closer to him in the car. Her hand rested lightly on his arm, and she smiled the kind of smile that could make any man look hopelessly in love. "G1SSI," she greeted warmly, her voice dripping with charm. "Your mother said you'd be alone tonight." Jennifer let out a soft laugh, leaning slightly closer to Ji-won. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said sweetly, tilting her head. "Did his mother not tell you? We're married." The woman blinked, her smile stiffening for half a second before recovering. "Married?" she repeated, her eyes flicking to Ji-won for confirmation. Ji-won's hand slid over Jennifer's, his thumb brushing against her knuckles in a casual but possessive gesture. "Yes, Jennifer is my wife," he said without hesitation. Jennifer smiled like a woman deeply in love. Inside, her heart pounded. She was improvising without a script, but she knew how to play a part. "We were keeping it private," she added, "but I suppose the cat's out now." The woman's gaze swept over Jennifer from head to toe, pausing on her modest dress and the credit card still peeking from her clutch. A flicker of disdain crossed her face before she sneered, her voice sharp. "I'm just surprised," she said slowly. "I didn't think you'd go for a low-class woman. She's clearly not even your type." Jennifer's smile didn't falter, though her chest tightened. She leaned closer to Ji-won, resting her head on his shoulder. "Sometimes," she replied softly, her eyes locked on the woman, "love is about what the heart wants, not what money can buy." The other woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "Well, I hope the two of you find happiness," she said coolly. "Oh," Jennifer said, her smile sharpening, "we already have." The sharp ring of Madame Kang's phone broke the quiet of her afternoon tea. "Madame Kang, this is Hygiene," the woman on the other end began, her tone dripping with urgency. "I think you should know what your son has gotten himself into." Within the hour, Madame Kang's black luxury car pulled up outside a lounge where Jennifer once worked as a waitress. Inside, Hygiene sat waiting, her designer dress flawless, her smirk even sharper than her stiletto heels. As Jennifer walked in, her steps faltered. Ji-won had told her to play her role, but the piercing gaze of the two women felt like knives. Hygiene crossed her legs elegantly. "So this is her?" She scoffed. "Madame Kang, I told you. She's not even close to your family standard. I wouldn't be surprised if she's after his money." Madame Kang didn't blink. She studied Jennifer like she was inspecting a piece of jewelry at an auction. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out a white envelope, and placed it on the table. "This," Madame Kang said coolly, "is enough for you to leave my son and disappear." Quietly, Jennifer stared at the envelope. Her hands trembled, not from the money, but from the insult. The envelope of cash sat between them like a silent test. Madame Kang's sharp eyes studied Jennifer, searching for weakness. "Take it," Madame Kang said coolly. "You'll be better off. Trust me, my son is not for someone like you." Jennifer's fingers hovered above the envelope. For a moment, the weight of her reality flashed in her mind. Her family's bills, the rent she was struggling to pay. It would be so easy to take the money and walk away. But instead, she drew a deep breath, straightened her back, and pushed the envelope back toward Madame Kang. "I can't accept this," Jennifer said firmly, meeting the older woman's gaze. "I'm with Ji-won because of love, not money." The other lady scoffed loudly. "Love? With someone like you? Don't make me laugh." Before she could speak, Ji-won walked in, his voice like ice. "Is there a problem here?" Ji-won appeared at the doorway, his jaw tight, eyes locked on his mother. Without waiting for an answer, he walked over, slid his hand protectively around Jennifer's waist, and said with quiet steel, "She's the woman I choose. Money has nothing to do with it." Madame Kang's lips pressed into a thin line, but her eyes flickered with something unreadable. Was it annoyance or the first hint of curiosity about this Nigerian woman who wouldn't back down? The cafe air grew tense, Ji-won's sharp defense of Jennifer still echoing between them. Madame Kang's expression didn't soften. If anything, it grew colder. Her gaze shifted to Jennifer, dissecting her from head to toe like she was nothing more than an unworthy applicant. "You want to be part of this family?" Madame Kang asked, her voice steady, almost too calm. Jennifer hesitated. "Yes, if it's truly love." "Then prove it," Madame Kang cut in sharply. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "You have 3 months. Earn $1 billion. Bring it to me, and you will do it without my son lifting a single finger to help you. If you fail, you will walk away from him forever." Jennifer's breath caught. $1 billion? It sounded impossible. She could barely imagine having 1 million, let alone 1,000 times that amount. But the way Madame Kang looked at her, like she was already defeated, lit a fire in her chest. Ji-won's hands curled into fists. "Mother, This is between me and her," Madame Kang interrupted coldly. "If she is truly here for love, she will fight for it." Jennifer held Madame Kang's stare, her voice calm but resolute. 3 months, she said. "I'll bring you the money." The evening air was cool, but Jennifer's mind was on fire. Madame Kang's impossible challenge replayed in her head like a cruel echo. $1 billion in 3 months, without Ji-won's help. It felt like a mountain she couldn't climb, yet she had agreed. Ji-won pulled the car to a stop outside his penthouse. He turned to her, his gaze softening. "Jennifer," he began, his voice low but firm, "move in with me." She blinked in surprise. "What?" "I'm serious. My mother, she will look for every chance to bully you. If you stay in your place, she'll send people. She'll make your life unbearable. But if you live with me, she'll have to go through me first." Jennifer's lips parted, torn between pride and the warmth of his protection. "Ji-won, people will talk." "Let them talk. At least you are my wife now, so you should stay in my house," he said, his tone cutting through the silence. "I just want you safe. You're already carrying too much on your shoulders. I won't let her break you." She looked away, hiding the emotion in her eyes, but deep down, the offer felt like the first moment she could finally breathe. Jennifer stood at the massive floor-to-ceiling windows of Ji-won's penthouse, staring out at the glittering Seoul skyline. She still couldn't believe this was her new home. The air smelled faintly of expensive cologne and freshly polished marble, a world far from her cramped apartment. Ji-won walked in, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. "From now on, you won't have to struggle for a job. I'll get you a position in my company," he said casually, as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Jennifer turned, smiling politely. "Thank you, but," she placed the coffee on the table, "if we're going to live together, even for this plan, we need rules." Ji-won raised a brow. "Rules?" "Yes." She pulled out a small notepad and began scribbling. "Rule number 1, no barging into my room without knocking. Rule number 2, no sneaking on each other business. And rule number 3, she looked up at him with a playful smirk, no flirting, this marriage is fake." He chuckled, leaning against the sofa. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" "Dead serious," she replied, tearing the page out and handing it to him. "If we're going to pull this off and convince your mother, we need boundaries." Ji-won took the paper, studied it for a moment, then reached for a pen from the coffee table. Without saying a word, he signed his name at the bottom with a sharp stroke. "There," he said with cold eyes and grin. "Signed and sealed. But just so you know, I'm terrible at following rules." Jennifer narrowed her eyes. "Then I guess this will be interesting." Jennifer was lying on her bed, scrolling absent-mindedly through her phone, when a sudden knock echoed from the door. Before she could answer, the door opened slightly, and G1 stepped in, wearing a simple sleeveless black turtleneck and tailored trousers. The cut of the shirt revealed his toned arms, and the warm light from the hallway cast a glow on his sharp jawline. For the first time, Jennifer froze. She had always seen him as the overconfident, cold CEO, but at this moment she noticed the man. His black hair was perfectly styled, and the subtle scent of his cologne drifted into the room, making her heartbeat race unexpectedly. "Get dressed," he said casually, leaning against the doorframe. "We have an event to attend tonight." Jennifer blinked, still caught in the moment. "An event?" she asked, trying to sound unfazed, but her voice betrayed her curiosity. Ji-won smirked, as if he noticed the way she was looking at him. "Yes, and I expect my date to look stunning." Her eyes widened. "Date? You mean pretend date?" "Of course," he said with a coldness in his voice, but the way he held her gaze made her question if that was all it was. The grand ballroom glowed with crystal chandeliers, laughter, and the faint aroma of champagne. Jennifer walked in beside Ji-won, her long gown flowing like liquid silk. Heads turned. Murmurs followed. Ji-won placed a confident hand on her waist and announced to the circle of sharply dressed businessmen, "Gentlemen, meet my wife, Jennifer." For a moment, Jennifer's heart skipped. Wife. Even though it was all part of the act, hearing him say it made her chest tighten in ways she wasn't ready to admit. The evening moved in slow elegance until a voice, warm but layered with curiosity, called out from behind. "Jennifer, right?" Jennifer turned to see a striking African woman in a sleek emerald dress, her Korean accent blending perfectly with English. "I'm Whitney," the woman smiled, though her eyes carried a story. "I've lived in Korea since I was a child, and I used to be Ji-won's girlfriend." Jennifer's posture stiffened. Whitney leaned closer, her voice lowering to a whisper meant to sting. "I'm telling you this because I want my man back. You see, Ji-won only picked you because you're black like me, and you look a little like me too." Jennifer forced a polite smile, but inside her thoughts raced. This was no ordinary introduction, it was a warning. Jennifer's smile faltered as she stood in the middle of the glittering hall, Whitney's words still echoing in her mind. Why me, she thought. The question had been dancing in the back of her mind since the day Ji-won's mother approached her. She looked at Whitney again, stunning, graceful, and clearly familiar with the world she herself was still learning to navigate. Whitney's gaze softened, as if sensing Jennifer's silent struggle. "I'm not here to hurt you," Whitney murmured. "But think about it. Does he truly care, or is this all about image?" Jennifer swallowed hard, lowering her voice so no one could overhear. "Honestly," she began, glancing around to be sure Ji-won wasn't watching, "our marriage isn't real. It was a deal. Nothing more." Whitney's brows lifted slightly, but there was no judgment in her eyes, only intrigue. She took a slow sip of champagne and leaned closer. "Then maybe you understand why I still believe he belongs with me," she said. Jennifer looked away, her heart twisting. The music was still playing. Laughter echoed all around, but for a moment, she felt as though she was standing in a silent corner of truth, one that could shatter everything if spoken too loudly. Jennifer's heart pounded as Whitney's words replayed in her mind. The music and laughter around them faded into a distant hum. She looked into Whitney's eyes and saw something raw, a mixture of pain and longing that had been buried for years. Whitney's voice trembled slightly as she said, "It's been 5 years since I left him, but maybe deep down he still loves me. Maybe that's why he chose you, because you remind him of me." Jennifer swallowed hard. The thought pierced her like a needle. Why her, out of all the women in Korea? Was she just a shadow of another woman's memory? She forced a smile, trying to hide her own doubts. "Whitney," she said softly, "if you still love him, maybe you deserve another chance. If Ji-won's heart is still with you, I'll help you win him back. Whitney's eyes widened in surprise, her lips parting slightly. You'd really do that? Jennifer nodded, her own chest tightening. Our marriage isn't real, and if you're the one he truly loves, then maybe I'm just in the way. As they clinked their glasses gently, a silent deal was made under the glittering lights, one that could shatter everything if Ji-hoo ever found out. Laughter echoed from the far corner of the party hall where Ji-won and his close friends had gathered, glasses of wine in hand. The men leaned in as the music faded slightly in the background, the glow of the chandelier casting soft light over their faces. One of his oldest friends smirked and nudged him. Ji-won, be honest. Did you choose Jennifer because she reminds you of Whitney? The question hung in the air, playful yet piercing. Another chimed in with a chuckle. You've always had a thing for black girls, man. Is she just a replacement? Ji-won paused, his fingers tightening slightly around his glass. For a moment, he considered brushing it off with a joke. But then, without even looking away, his voice came firm and low. No, I didn't choose Jennifer because of Whitney. His friends leaned closer, curious. Ji-won's eyes softened, a faint smile forming. I didn't plan this, but somewhere along the line I started to like her. She's nothing like Whitney. Jennifer is different. She's strong, stubborn, and she looks at me like she's not afraid of me. I like that. I need that. The group fell silent for a beat. Then one of them broke into a grin. Wow, the great Ji-won is falling. Ji-won smirked, but deep inside the realization hit him. This wasn't just an act anymore. Jennifer leaned closer, lowering her voice so no one at the party could overhear. Whitney's eyes glistened, torn between pride and longing. I've watched enough movies to know, Jennifer said with a sly smile, that a man's heart can always be won back if you know the right tricks. Whitney's brows arched, curiosity flickering. And you think you can help me? Jennifer's lips curled into a knowing smirk. Not think. I know. You two already have history. All I have to do is help you rekindle the spark. For a moment, Whitney's posture softened, a shadow of hope crossing her face. Jennifer felt a strange pull in her chest, an odd mix of loyalty to the deal she had with Ji-won, and a quiet guilt at the thought of giving him away. Still, she told herself it didn't matter. This marriage was fake, and if helping Whitney win him back meant closing this chapter faster, then so be it. In the glittering corner of the party hall, Ji-hoo's friends leaned closer to him, their voices low but playful. You've been glancing at her all night, one teased. If you don't tell Jennifer how you feel, you'll regret it. Ji-hoo smirked but shook his head. It's not the right time. Then we'll make it the right time, another friend said, already reaching for his phone. Minutes later, Jennifer's phone buzzed. She stepped away from Whitney to answer. Jennifer, the voice on the other end sounded urgent. Your husband is drunk. You better come quickly before he makes a scene. Jennifer's eyes darted to Whitney, who was still sipping her drink. Then an idea sparked. She leaned closer to Whitney and whispered, This might be your chance. If he's drunk, he might let his guard down. Go to him, talk to him. Maybe you'll get through to him. Whitney's eyes widened in surprise. You really think so? Jennifer forced a small smile, hiding the uneasy twist in her chest. Yes. If you still love him, don't waste the moment. Whitney glanced toward the bar where Ji-won stood, unaware of what was coming. The music swelled, and the party lights glittered, but Jennifer's heart felt strangely heavy as she handed over the opportunity to another woman, one Ji-won once loved. Whitney glided toward Ji-won with a confident smile, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. She had prepared her words, convinced that this was her moment to reclaim him. Ji-won, she said smoothly, sliding into the seat beside him. It's been too long. 5 years, yet I can see it in your eyes. You never moved on. Jennifer, She paused, lowering her voice. You only chose her because she looks like me. Because deep down you still love me. Ji-won stared at her, unmoving, then let out a sharp breath that almost sounded like a laugh. But there was no warmth in it. Love you. His tone was ice. Whitney, we were never lovers. Our families forced us to spend time together because of business ties. That was all. Don't rewrite history. Whitney's smile wavered. Ji-won, don't say that. We had something real. He cut her off, rising to his feet, his voice carrying enough weight that people nearby turned to listen. You have gone for 5 years. You chose your freedom. Fine. But don't come back here and insult Jennifer with lies. I didn't marry her because she looks like you. I married her because he stopped catching himself, his eyes flashing with emotions he didn't want to reveal yet. Because she's Jennifer, and she deserves respect. Something you clearly don't understand. Whitney's face drained of color. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Ji-won, she whispered, reaching out, but he pulled away. Stay in your place, Whitney. Whatever you're looking for, it's not here. With that, Ji-won walked off, leaving Whitney frozen in humiliation. The party ended with laughter echoing behind them. But inside Ji-hoo's sleek black car, silence stretched like a thin thread between him and Jennifer. The city lights passed in blurs through the tinted windows, casting fleeting shadows on her thoughtful face. Ji-hoo kept one hand steady on the wheel, his jaw tight as if he was battling unspoken words. Finally, his voice broke through the quiet. Jennifer, did you and Whitney meet tonight? His tone was calm, but laced with suspicion, his eyes briefly darting to her before returning to the road. Jennifer forced a small smile, though her heart raced. Yes, we did, but it was nothing serious. Just girl stuff. She tried to sound casual, turning her gaze toward the glowing skyline to avoid his piercing stare. Ji-hoo exhaled slowly, his grip tightening on the wheel. Don't believe anything she tells you, he said firmly. Whitney has her own reasons for being around. None of them have to do with me anymore. His voice carried weight, almost pleading beneath the sternness. Jennifer nodded lightly, lips pressed together, pretending to agree. But in her mind, Whitney's words kept replaying. Why me? Why did he choose me? Maybe Whitney was right. Maybe Ji-won still held feelings for her and hired Jennifer because of the resemblance. As the car moved smoothly through the night, Ji-won felt relieved he had warned her. But Jennifer's mind was already made up. She would help Whitney get him back. That night, while Ji-won worked late in his study, Jennifer sneaked out with her phone tightly in hand. She met Whitney at a quiet cafe tucked into a narrow street, the kind of place where secrets could be exchanged without fear of ears listening. The dim lights cast soft shadows on their faces as Whitney leaned forward, her eyes burning with determination. Jennifer lowered her voice, almost whispering, If you still want Ji-hoo back, I'll help you. All we need is to remind him of the past you two shared. Whitney smiled, relieved but also calculating. She placed her hand over Jennifer's. You don't know what this means to me. Ji-won was always mine. You're just helping us find our way back. Jennifer's chest tightened at those words. A small part of her wanted to scream that she was his wife now, even if the marriage was fake, but instead she nodded, convincing herself this was the right thing. After all, hadn't Ji-won chosen her only because she reminded him of Whitney? The two women leaned closer across the small wooden table, their voices hushed as they crafted plans. How Whitney would appear in moments of Ji-won's weakness, how Jennifer would step aside at the right time, and how they would reignite his supposed old love. Jennifer left the cafe with a heavy heart. The Seoul night was cold, but the storm inside her felt colder. She didn't know that in trying to give Whitney a chance, she was about to break her own heart. The plan had taken shape in Jennifer's mind like a puzzle coming together. Sitting with Whitney, she leaned in and whispered, her tone low but persuasive. Call him, Jennifer urged softly. Tell Ji-won you want to see him. even if it's only for an hour. I'll make sure the place is decorated with your old memories, photographs, flowers, things that will make him remember what you two once had. Whitney's eyes lit up with a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. She nodded quickly, pulling out her phone. The ringtone echoed in the silence of the cafe as Jennifer clasped her hands together nervously. But when Jiwoo's deep voice finally came through, his response cut like a blade. "I'm sorry, Whitney. I don't have time. I'm very busy." The call ended before she could plead further. Whitney's face fell, her hope dissolving into bitterness. Jennifer, however, refused to let the plan die. She forced a smile and placed a reassuring hand on Whitney's arm. "Don't worry. I'll fix it." Later that night, when Jennifer returned home, she found Ji-won loosening his tie in the living room. Her heart thudded, but she masked her true intent with a soft, almost playful smile. "Ji-won," she said carefully, "can you spare some time with me? I want to take you out, just the two of us, to a restaurant. No work. No interruptions. Just us." Ji-won paused, watching her curiously, then nodded slowly, unaware of the hidden motive. Jennifer's plan to lead him straight into Whitney's path. Ji-hoo had been exhausted from the party and his long week, but when Jennifer suggested dinner, his face lit up. For the first time in a long while, he looked genuinely excited to spend a quiet evening with her. Jennifer's heart tightened with guilt, but she forced a smile, clutching her secret plan inside. When he arrived at the restaurant, Ji-won stepped in confidently, expecting a cozy night with his wife. But his steps froze the moment he saw Whitney waiting at the reserved table. She stood up instantly, her face glowing with happiness, as if she had been waiting for this moment all her life. "Ji-won," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "I knew you would come. You've never forgotten me, even now. That's why you married Jennifer, isn't it? Because she reminds you of me. Because she's black like me. Because she looks like me." Her words hung heavy in the air. Ji-won's jaw clenched as anger built inside him. The chair scraped harshly against the floor as he stood, glaring at her. "You're wrong, Whitney," he said sharply, his voice slicing through her hope. "Jennifer is nothing like you. Did I have told you this before, and I will tell you again. She doesn't look like you, and I did not marry her because of you. I never loved you. What we had was never love, it was obligation, nothing more. So stop this act, and stop trying to force yourself into my life." Whitney's smile crumbled, her eyes clouding with humiliation. The restaurant's soft lights seemed to dim as Ji-won's words cut deeper than she ever imagined. Whitney sat alone in the restaurant after Ji-won left, her eyes swollen with unshed tears. The humiliation burned, but deeper still was the pain of rejection. Pulling out her phone with trembling hands, she dialed Jennifer. When Jennifer answered, Whitney's voice cracked, low but firm. "Jennifer, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you tried to do for me. But I can't stay here any longer. Ji-won doesn't want me back, and I have to accept that. I'm flying back to Europe tomorrow." Jennifer's chest tightened. She had invested so much effort, so many secret plans, only for Whitney to give up now. Her fingers clutched the phone tighter, her voice hurried and desperate. "No, Whitney, don't say that. Don't give up yet. He's just angry, that's all. Things can still change." But Whitney interrupted softly, her tone final. "Sometimes love isn't about fighting harder. It's about letting go. I'll be fine." The line went silent after that, leaving Jennifer staring at her phone screen, torn between disappointment and guilt. For the first time, she began to wonder, was she helping Whitney or destroying her own marriage? The car screeched into the driveway, headlights cutting through the storm. Ji-won stepped out, his face clouded with rage, and walked straight into the pounding rain, letting it soak him. Jennifer, watching from the window, quickly grabbed an umbrella and ran after him. "Ji-won!" she shouted, her voice trembling as she lifted the umbrella above his head. He spun around, his eyes burning. Why do you let Whitney get into your head? Don't you see? She means nothing to me, nothing. Jennifer's chest tightened as tears mixed with raindrops on her cheeks. Her voice cracked. Why did you choose me, if not because I look like her? For a moment, silence hung heavy between them, broken only by the pounding rain. Ji-won's anger softened, his gaze piercing into hers. He stepped closer, his voice low, raw, and honest. I chose you because you're you, Jennifer. Because you're the only woman who makes my world feel alive again. Not Whitney. Not anyone else. Just you. Her breath caught, her eyes widening as he lifted his trembling hand to her face. I love you, he whispered, before closing the distance between them. Their lips met in the rain, fiery, desperate, and tender all at once. The umbrella slipped from her hands, forgotten, as they kissed under the storm, finally surrendering to the truth their hearts had been aching to reveal. The morning after the stormy night, the house felt lighter, filled with a warmth that hadn't been there before. Jennifer stood before the mirror, adjusting her blazer nervously. She was about to start working in Ji-hoo's company, not as his wife, but as an employee. For her, it was more than a job. It was a chance to send money back to her family in Nigeria, to ease the burden she carried in her heart every day. Ji-won noticed her hesitation as she walked down the stairs. You don't need to do this, Jennifer, he said softly, his voice still tender from the night before. I can take care of you. But Jennifer shook her head. No, Ji-won. I need to stand on my own feet. I need to support my family. That's who I am. At the company, whispers followed her as she stepped into the office. Some saw her as the CEO's wife. Others doubted if she truly belonged there. Jennifer held her head high, determined to prove herself. That evening, as she quietly counted her first paycheck, a small smile tugged at her lips. She sent a message to her younger brother in Nigeria. Don't worry, I'll send money soon. Take care of Mama. Unseen by her, Ji-won stood by the doorway, watching with admiration. He finally understood. This woman wasn't just the love of his life. She was strength itself. 3 months had passed in the blink of an eye. Jennifer had worked hard, balancing her new role at Ji-won's company and the weight of supporting her family back home. Slowly, she had begun to feel like she belonged, like she was carving out her own place. But Ji-won's mother had not forgotten her promise. The trial period was now over. That evening, the Kong family mansion was quiet, but the silence was sharp, like the calm before a storm. Jennifer was summoned to the sitting room, her palms damp, her heart beating fast. She stepped inside to find Madame Kong sitting upright, her eyes cold and sharp as glass. Sit, Madame Kong said firmly. Jennifer obeyed, folding her hands on her lap. Madame Kang's eyes burned with suspicion as she stood before Jennifer. You think I don't know the truth, she said coldly. You were brought here, hired as an actress to play a role in my son's life. Jennifer's heart pounded, but instead of trembling, she lifted her chin. Yes, in the beginning I agreed to something I shouldn't have. But let me be clear, I am not here because I want Ji-won's wealth. I came because I had no other choice. I am Jennifer, a Nigerian woman who works hard, supports her family, and stands on her own feet. Her voice sharpened with pride. If your son wants a wife who depends on his money, then I am not the woman. I do not need to meet your requirements to be accepted. In fact, she drew in a deep breath, her eyes glistening, if this marriage displeases you, then I will divorce him. I would rather walk away than let anyone think I'm here for his fortune. My love for him is not for sale. The words cut through the air like lightning. Madame Kong blinked, stunned into silence. Slowly, a strange warmth crept across her stern face. For the first time, her lips curved into the faintest smile. You would walk away rather than live on his wealth? She asked, her voice softening. Jennifer nodded firmly. Madame Kong exhaled, almost in relief in her mind. Perhaps she is stronger than I thought. Not many women would say what she just did. As she left the room, her steps slower, calmer, Jennifer sat back, her chest trembling with emotion. Few hours later, she called G1 to let them see as they have something to discuss. The restaurant lights glowed warm and golden, casting a romantic atmosphere over the private corner G1 had reserved. Soft violin music drifted through the air, and the faint fragrance of cherry blossoms lingered from the floral decorations he had carefully chosen. G1 sat across from Jennifer, his eyes full of excitement, the velvet ring box hidden in his jacket pocket. But Jennifer sat stiffly, her smile faint, her heart heavy. She stirred her drink absent-mindedly, unable to meet his gaze. G1 leaned forward with a hopeful grin. "You've been quiet all evening, Jennifer. Is something wrong?" Her throat tightened. The weight of Madame Kang's words echoed inside her. Taking a shaky breath, she whispered, "G1, I've been thinking. Maybe it's best if we end this. I don't belong in your world. Your mother will never accept me." G1 froze. The air seemed to leave the room. His hand instinctively reached for the ring box, but instead of pulling it out, he clenched it tighter in his palm. His voice trembled with disbelief. "And this? Jennifer, what are you saying? You're my wife, my everything." She looked up at him, eyes glistening. "I can't keep pretending, G1. I'll divorce you before your mother forces you to choose." The words shattered him. His carefully planned proposal hung in the air, unspoken, while she prepared to walk away. The storm between love and fear had finally reached its breaking point. G1 sat frozen in the restaurant, his chest heavy as Jennifer's words about divorce cut him deeply. He didn't even realize when she stood up and walked out. For a moment, the ring in his pocket felt like a cruel joke, hope slipping away. But then his eyes hardened. He couldn't let her go. Not like this. He chased her out into the pouring rain. Jennifer was walking fast, umbrella shaking in her hand, but he caught up, pulling her gently by the wrist. "Jennifer," his voice cracked. She stopped but refused to look at him. "You think I chose you because you look like someone else?" "No, I chose you because you're the woman I can't breathe without." Her lips trembled, but she shook her head. "Your mother will never accept me, G1. I can't stay in a love that will only break me." He stepped closer, rain soaking his suit, eyes locked on hers. Then he pulled out his phone, pressed play, and his mother's voice filled the night. "G1, if you love Jennifer, go after her. Stop wasting time and give me grandkids on time. I won't stand in your way anymore, and I won't pressure you anymore. Marry whosoever you love." Jennifer's eyes widened, tears mixing with raindrops. G1 dropped to his knees in the middle of the rain, finally pulling out the velvet ring box. "I don't want a divorce. I want forever with you. Jennifer, will you marry me?" Her heart burst with emotions. Through her tears, she nodded, whispering, "Yes." And there, under the stormy sky, they sealed their fate with a kiss, choosing love against all odds. In the end, Jihu and Jennifer proved that love is stronger than money, stronger than fear, and stronger than anyone's expectations. What began as an arrangement became a bond no one could break. Because true love isn't about status or appearances, it's about choosing each other, again and again, no matter the storm. And sometimes the greatest victory in life is finding someone who sees your worth when the world refuses to. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and comment. This is Afro Love Diaries, where every heartbeat tells a story.